Hey, this is Jody from Jody's Touch of Style. I'm glad you're here because I wanted to talk about belts. I know belts come and go as trends, and I'm starting to see them more and more. I don't wear them a lot, but there are times that I think they can be very useful. And I don't care what your shape is, they can still be useful. So let me show you 3 times that I will wear a belt more often than not, and even sometimes that it doesn't work. So, for example, I think of a belt as adding a nice focus point to your waist. Even if you don't have a waist, it brings the attention there and makes you look like you do have a waist. So, in saying that, it's not to pull together material when there's too much of it. That means I use it on dresses that either have a waist already there or that are straight and still fit well. So for example, this belt or this dress, did it come with a belt? I think it came with a belt, but not this belt. I think it came with a self belt, one that's made out of the same material. But I like using a belt that stands out a little more, and therefore I grabbed this white belt. It really shows up, and because there's elastic here, there's a defined waist that the belt will stay there nicely. I think there are belt loops that I could have put it through, and it looks fine. It doesn't pull in too much material or look extra, and it looks good from the front and from the back. So this is an example of when I will wear a belt, and not always the belt that came with the dress. I think that's a good thing to keep in mind, is that you may have a belt that will look better with something. Sometimes the ones that come with it tend to get lost and you don't even notice it. So why even wear it? Let me give you an example of when I think a belt wouldn't work with a dress. Even though this is a straight dress, it's not very fitted. You can see there's a lot of extra material. And if I wanted it more fitted, the answer to me wouldn't be to put a belt on it. It would be to take it in and have it altered. But let me show you. I'm going to use the same belt that I wore with the green dress. And granted, you probably would wear a black belt. But I think the white belt shows up and gives you a perfect example. First off, if you just wear it like this, you can see you still get, because you're going to move, you get this ruffling, you get this extra material around it. And I know back in the 80s, I used to pull up the material around that to keep this part straight, but then you have all of this extra material at the top. And most of us don't want extra material to make us look bigger in an area. So that's why I think when you have a dress that's not slim or doesn't have a defined waist, that wearing a belt with it isn't the best idea. This is a good dress to wear with leggings. Sure, it's a little big, but when you have leggings, then your bottom half is much tighter and you have the yin and yang, and it looks great. Now, the second time that I like wearing a belt is to add some interest to an outfit. For example, with a plain solid colored skirt and solid colored top. My first instinct would be to grab a print belt. This is a great way to add some focus to my waist. The skirt is well fitted, so the belt isn't being functional in the respect of holding things together, holding something in place, but it's adding decoration. It's basically being an accessory. Now, you can also do this with a belt that matches. And so you're not so much creating that same interest as with a print belt, but you're finishing off the look. I feel like this looks much more finished. The two reds, the red just adds to the top, especially if you feel like you have a really short waist, then this brings that red down a bit. You don't look as cut off when you have it tucked in. Whereas if I didn't have this tucked in, it would be too long, and then I wouldn't have as good a proportions. So those two belts I think work nicely with this outfit. Now this is a time that I would not wear a belt, when I had a print skirt, and even though the top is solid, I would definitely not add the print belt. That would be too much, even for me. I'm not saying you couldn't wear the red belt, but I don't think it adds as much to this outfit as it did to the previous outfit. You have this beautiful plaid, you have the ties up here. I think a belt almost detracts from it instead of adding to it. So this would be a time when I would not add the belt to an outfit. So the last way that I tend to wear a belt is with something that doesn't stay closed easily. For example, a kimono. Now in the summer, you don't always want to have it stay where it's put, but just in case you do, let me give you a couple pointers. If you wear a belt around the whole kimono like this, it's kind of too much. You get a little too much all around. So my tip is to just use it in the front. And so you would have it be just around your waist in the back, and then let the kimono be loose in the back, and then just have the belt work for the front area. Then it's a little looser, but it still stays in place, and it doesn't give you as much poofiness. Now this works with ponchos also, or shawls to keep them in place. Now this is what I consider for the summer, and then if you had something like this for the winter, you could do the same thing. Now, this is a wrap, and obviously there's nothing in the back, but it would work, say, for a cape. So you have this, straighten it out so that it would stay in place, but it's still just around your back for the back portion of it. I'd probably have it a little more open like that. And you have to fuss with it a little bit, try to figure out what looks good, and then can you move your arms? That's very important too. So you can't have it too tight. But that's the way to make it work for the winter time.